We're back in the shop for another exciting week. We've got this time a two-parter furniture package for a local attorney client for his home office. Very exciting piece. We're actually matching the resin to his favorite stone color, and we tried on the texture of Malachite. You can let us know in the comments how you think we did with the color, and we tried on the texture. It's tough to control the texture of resin, but we did our best, and I think the color we got pretty good. But you could see us filtering out the resin here with our makeshift container filters there. So the reason we did that was when you get to the bottom of a resin barrel, you can get a lot of sort of crystallized, almost chunky resin bits. And the way that we filter them out is just using basically a paint strainer. And you want to get all that stuff out of there and just keep the good stuff. It actually worked pretty well, and the end result was really good. We used Black Forest deep pour resin. We did the 1.5-inch pour in a single pour very successfully, no bubbles and no issues of any kind really. Before we did the pour, we laid down mold release, helped make it a bit easier popping it out of the mold, and that went pretty well. So here we are demolding it. A lot of things that people don't know about resin pours is all the work that goes in behind the scenes. A lot of, sort of satisfying videos on YouTube and Instagram about how people do resin pours, but it takes a lot of effort, a lot of preparation. We spend typically at least a day doing preparations for a resin pour and building the mold and laying everything out. Half day to a full day on the actual pours, and then popping it all apart. So we're good preparation leads to good result, and we were very happy with it. Now on to dimensioning up some lumber. We had some fantastic walnut come in for this job from our local provider, Bucks County Hardwoods. It's always cool to be able to work with local material, especially with a local client. Some boards had some pretty good cupping to it, but nothing some nice planing doesn't take care of. So flattened all the boards up really square, and started laying them out how we wanted them for the glue ups. This material just came out fantastic. I mean, really, really fascinating colors in this walnut. You'll see once we get oil on it at the end how special this wood is. Really, really happy with it. So here we are. Rick is laying out for the dominoes to increase the strength of the material when all glued together. And we move on to gluing. Using a Type Bond 3 glue here. It's a waterproof glue, not that we expect the piece to get wet, but whenever possible, we try to use TB3, so we make sure it's sort of covered on all bases, no matter what sort of conditions the piece is subject to. Getting a nice coverage of glue, popping in the beach dominoes there, and clamping it all together on our big JLT rack. Let it sit overnight. Pop it out in the morning, and we go to glue scraping. Really want to make sure you're pretty thorough on the glue scraping. The next step here is so here Rick is sculpting up the live edge. We'll actually make our own live edge just by marking out the live edge ourselves, and it works pretty well. Very, very successful with that. We've done it a lot. And it works. It's actually tough to tell the difference between a faux live edge and an authentic one when we're done with it. So once we got all that done, we are on to pre-finishing. Any internal panel that is going to have glue, anywhere in the vicinity. One, it's easier to pre-finish than trying to finish the inside corners, and two, any glue that's going to squeeze out when we glue the whole thing together is going to be a nightmare to clean up later. So by just kind of leaving the sections that we are gluing raw so we get a good bond, and taping off and pre-finishing the other areas, make sure that we don't get any glue ghosts, we don't get any squeeze out that's gonna cause a mess later. So use just enough glue here to get a good bond. and we go to clamping. Very successful glue up. I think we were 32nd or 64th of an inch corner to corner, so couldn't be happier with that. On to the feet. So we made some custom walnut tapered solid feet here, and we attached them with threaded inserts so they're easily removable or replaced if they're ever damaged. And these really went together nice. Nice touch here. And we get our first look at piece 1 of 2, which is a credenza, and on to the next one. So dimensioning up some more lumber while the other piece starts to get some sanding done. This lumber was from the same source. Wanted to make sure all this walnut matched each other. So it all came from what looks like actually the same tree. Color is extremely close and very unique all the way across. Very lucky here in Pennsylvania to get some exceptional lumber. Back to the JLT clamp, gluing up some more boards. You'll see what this is for in a minute here. Back to scraping the next morning and into the wide belt. Sanding them all together, marking for the dominoes, and back to our next glue up. So this is for piece 2 of 2. You could see same technique, taping off any areas that might have some squeeze out, popping those dominoes in, getting good glue coverage. And on to our first carcass glue up of piece 2 of 2. Any guesses yet what this piece is going to be? Another very successful glue up. Whole bunch of clamps. Sometimes these glue ups look crazy with all the clamps, but it's what it takes to have a good result of a good glue up. Now on to the Altendorf table saw. This is really the Ferrari of table saws for some mission critical cuts we have coming up here. You'll see what those are in a second here. Very important. You got one shot at these cuts. So we've got our resin pour out here for a crucial cut, cutting them at a 45-degree angle to create a waterfall effect. This is going to be a very, very cool result here for piece 2 of 2. And what we do here in creating the waterfall, since there's resin in the middle, we put TB3 on either wood surface, just enough so we're not getting squeezed out onto the resin, because any glue on resin is going to show as sort of a milky, cloudy color. That is not what you want. And we actually just put thin set resin on the resin, because when resin bonds to more resin, it actually just disappears. So we need the TB3 to bond to the wood and resin to bond to the resin. Had to build a jig for this glue up, another crazy glue up with a whole bunch of clamps, but very successful, perfectly square. And the next morning we take it apart. See how it went, and it went very well. So some light glue scraping here, very careful. We're on the final home stretch here, so we don't want to make any damage marks. And now we're on to assembly. Putting in some of the hardware, and if you guessed desk earlier, you were right. So we've got a credenza and a desk. Very, very cool result, having the live edge on the sculpted into this as well to match the other one. Just take the grinder out, and like I said before, we're really intentional with our faux live edges that we do. We pay attention to the grain pattern in the boards, and we take out Dremels, we take out grinders, and finally sanders to really make sure we give it an authentic look. Somebody's in the shop and they come in and they see a faux sculpted edge that we did. You'd be shocked how many times it really takes them a few minutes to pick up that it's not authentic. It's very rare that you get a live edge that just works for a project, or maybe it's out of budget for a customer. And either way, in being able to make your own live edges, it gives you a lot more control. So now we're on to drawer boxes, using biscuits here with solid walnut. Great way to build boxes, and popping these together. We had to make a whole bunch of these for both the desk and the credenza. And on to finishing. So you'll start to get a first taste of the color of this walnut, really special, very ribbony sort of walnut. Beautiful. Here we are marking out for more hardware going in. So we've got drawers on one side of the credenza and open shelving on the other side. And we pull back out that second resin pour for the credenza. This is going to be the front of the credenza. So we marked out a bunch of different cuts, and it's sort of the first time we've done this actually, where when you look at the credenza, it is it's all one consistent resin pour, but actually you can tug on individual pieces and open them up as drawer fronts or cabinet doors to access the shelving. Really went together well. We're very happy with the end result here. Very, very cool look. And we're actually known for our very neutral colors in our resin. So using a greenish color on resin was really out of our comfort zone for us. But the client was adamant on it, and honestly, in the end, we were very happy with it. Very, very unique, but cool end result. Let us know what you think about the color. Back to the table saw, cutting some dados. Putting together all these boxes. Very happy with the fitment here. When you're making a whole bunch of these boxes, sometimes it gets tedious, but every little cut and glue up matters, because if you get a box that's slightly out of square, you're going to feel it. As soon as you put it on the track, it's not going to slide right. It's not going to function right, and is all affecting not only the overall appearance, but the usability of the piece. So, our goal is when we make products that they last for generations. If you take care of our work, there's no reason you shouldn't be able to hand it down to your kids and their kids after that. Now working on the pencil drawer on the front of the desk, testing the fit. And once we got that knocked down, put on our drawer pull and put it together. And the rest of the hardware goes in, now on the desk. Stunning style. Love the style of both these pieces, especially when they're put together. They really complement each other nicely. Now working on final sanding, taking our time, really getting a good result on every piece. We sand each one up to 220. It should feel like glass when it's all done. And on the resin pieces, we actually go to 400. We wet sand all the way up. And actually, a trick that we found with resin is wet sanding with mineral spirits, not using water. It just seems to give it a better result in the end. Knocking off all the sharp edges, making sure that, they look crisp but don't feel crisp. And onto the big desk surface here, wet sanding with more mineral spirits. You start to get an idea of what this thing's going to look like with oil. And now we get to see what it really does look like with oil. Buffing it on using our Gem Industries buffer and a Rubio monocoat. Even though monocoat sounds like we only do one coat, we actually typically do 2 coats with Rubio. We just find that, one coat looks great, but when you buff it off with a Scotch-Brite, kind of scuff it up a little bit, and then buff on a second coat, you just get this really unbelievable shine and pop of the grain that you just can't get with one coat. So even though it takes us longer, the end result is really worth it. Lot of different panels on this project. Took a long time to get every little element properly oiled and looking right, buffed up. Anytime you deal with resin, it's that much more challenging, but the end result we couldn't be happier with. And something we're very proud of here at Paramount of the work that we do is the underside of our projects. We always try to make them look just as good as the top side, whether it be the back of a drawer box, whether it be the inside of a cabinet, the underside of a table, whatever it is. Maybe it's some area that you'll never see. We want to make sure that if anyone had to ever, flip a table upside down or, lay on their back and see the underside of a piece, that they're just impressed about what they see on the underside as what they see, when they first look at it. Now putting together the final bits of hardware, popping together all these cabinet fronts. Couldn't be happier with the fitment. The whole team did a fantastic job. Material was a pleasure to work with. Whole lot of elements put together here. I think it took us maybe 3 days just in final assembly to get it all together. That's after all the work's done, just to assemble. And getting our first look at the final result here. Each one of our pieces comes with a certificate of authenticity, knowing that we made it in our shop, and you can be proud of the final result. And here it is in its final home. What do you guys think? Absolutely stunning.